irish.ie and Irish News Radio. Today is Tuesday, so we'll have our gruesome Tuesday. What we're going to be looking at is the Sri Lanka killing, because what a gruesome day on Easter Sunday. Massacre of 321 and still rising Christians killed for their faith. And the leftist West refusing to even acknowledge that this is Christians. They're calling them Easter worshippers, as if that's a thing. Christians don't worship Easter. They worship Jesus. But they're refusing, the Obama and Clinton and even Leo, refusing to acknowledge that this is Christians' massacre, rather than calling them Easter worshippers, as if that was even a religion. Like, it's like, oh no, everyone relax, it's these crazy Easter worshippers. It's, what the hell is it? Not even giving them respect to call them what they are, Christians. And it was a Christian massacre. As if, like, it's like when they call Asians, the grooming gangs are Asians. Most of Asia aren't Muslim. Most of Asians are, like, when you think of Asians, you think of Chinese, Japanese. Asians, what Asians? And then when they call them Asians, what part of Asians? Were they the Christian Asians? Were they the Buddhist Asians? Were they Hindu Asians? Were they Yiddish? Were they Sikhs? Were they Sappho Jews or Coptic Christians? Or atheists? No, they're just Muslims. So why do they get a whole continent named after them to include every other religion and all parts of the continent who have nothing to do with them? They have nothing to do with the Japanese or the Chinese or any of the other true Asians. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, this Easter worshippers, it's insane. Why can't you just call them what they are? Muslims in the United Kingdom are the majority. They represent 1% of the population, but are 90% of the grooming gangs. So by lying about this is insulting a whole continent who have nothing to do with this tiny population of Pakistan. And not even all of them come from Pakistan, but they're all named Asians, whether they're from Pakistan or the Middle East or the Far East, because they're Muslims, which have nothing to do with Asia. The far reaches that Pakistan may be in, you can cover that as a part of Asia. But the real Asia have nothing to do with. But it doesn't really matter. They call all Muslims, wherever they come from, Asians, which they're not. And even even if all Asia were Islamic, they don't even recognize that these real Asians are Buddhists, Sikhs, Jewish, Christians, Hindus. Oh no, it's like a whole continent, like these new name, the Easter worshippers. So they don't even get their true name, which we are Christians. But no, the far left have refusing to call them Christians, Easter worshippers, as if that was something different. And Leo's silence, again, is deafening on this. But when the New Zealand came out, now there wasn't near 321 people and still rising. There's 500 people still in hospitals because of their faith. Now that number is going to score high, even high. 321 is 6 times as much as what happened in New Zealand. But yet there is not wall-to-wall coverage. People aren't screaming out. The world isn't coming together in condolence to Sri Lanka Christians. No. Easter worshippers. A disgrace. Absolutely horrible disgrace and it's just typical of the left. The left and Islam always together. It is disgusting. And obviously Muslims are delighted with themselves. With the killing, they're out celebrating the killing of 321 Christians, not Easter worshippers. Yeah, they were out celebrating Easter in their Christian faith, which they are Christians, worshippers. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of their labels of mudding waters. Asians are not Muslims. Asia is a continent, which is mostly Japanese, Chinese, and all sorts of things. We're not part of the grooming gangs. In fact, Asia as a continent should sue. Real Asians should be suing media that call all Muslims, whether they're from the far east or whether they're from Pakistan or the Middle East, they're calling them all Asians, which has nothing to do with the real Asians. They should actually, all Asians, whether the Buddhist, Sikhs, Christians, all come together and sue because they're insulting the whole continent. Now, there's the Easter worshippers. What the hell? They're Christians. Name them for who they are. Absolutely disgraceful. It's typical of the left, Obama and the rest of them, but Leo, his silence on it is typical. It just absolutely the left. And it's to hide what Muslims do. They change names to hide and disguise Muslims. So the world doesn't see it. As they do in the UK, they call them Asians. And as I said, yeah, the Muslim grooming gangs are 1% of the British population, but they 90% of the grooming gangs, yet they're called Asians. And it's all been covered up and ignored because they are Muslims. It's like the Islamic guy in Clonskee, Ibn Huwawi, who he went apparently on a holiday, he said, to Egypt and ended up in this Muslim Brotherhood and speaking in it by accidentally on the way to cinemas, as if this happens. It's like another English woman who was on her way to Turkey and she ended up in Syria and accidentally joined ISIS. Well, Ibn Huwawi in Clonskee Mosque, his father is the head of the Muslim Brotherhood in Europe. He was on his holidays over there and somehow he was on his way to a cinema and somehow ended up speaking in this Muslim Brotherhood rally. Anyway, he did a few years in prison because in Egypt they have been suffering under Islamic terrorism of Muslim Brotherhood. So anyway, they've decided to waiver his fees to go into Trinity because he is a Muslim. Now, this wouldn't be waived for the Irish. He went in originally trying to say that he was an international student, but you have to live in Ireland for 3 to 5 years, and as he was locked up for speaking in a Muslim terrorism organising gang, but, never mind that. So his fees will be waived, and there's no surprise there because one of the main lectures advocating for FGM, for female mutilation, and Islamic dress codes, and he's a senior lecturer there, is a Muslim, and he is a head on Muslim Brotherhood, involved in all this as well, and he's in Trinity. So no surprise there. Ibrahim Awawi gets his fees, his Trinity fees waived. Absolutely scary. If he was Irish, there's no way this would be happening. If he had joined the IRA and said, I've been out of the country for a few years, can I get into Trinity? There's no chance he'd be getting in. Even if a fully Irish citizen, never even been out of the country, and if he was in terrorism organisation. But no, because he was in Muslim Brotherhood, and somehow that they don't see that as terrorism in Ireland. No, that's lovely, beautiful, friendly religion those terrible Easter worshippers give out about. That, those 321 Easter worshippers that were killed were probably given out about them, and probably they deserve to die because, this beautiful religion of Islam has to kill them to stop them giving out. It's just become insane. Like, everything is insane. 321 dead. And you know what? The apologists will go around saying, well, it's all the West's fault for giving out about Islam, or it's the West's fault for invading. Everyone's fault but bloody Islam or the left for continuing allowing this to happen. And it's coming here to Ireland because we have the head of Muslim Brotherhood headquarters here in Dublin. And there's nothing being done. Their fees are waived if they want to go to Trinity College, even though they were in a known terrorism speeches, whatever. Even if you didn't believe he was involved in anything, he got up there and he spoke in the Muslim Brotherhood rally. And the Egyptian government had given all that information across. It's absolutely crazy. It just goes on. They're looking, because there's so many killing, and with the suspects and the evidence coming through, the large number of women involved in Sri Lanka killing massacre. So they're looking at a possible ban on the burqa and the hijab. I can't see it happening, but because so many women were involved in this, I wonder if the suicidal bombers were actually females, but they're saying there's a huge amount of women involved in it. So they're looking to ban the burqa and the hijab, possibly for going into public areas, and which it should be. Everybody should be recognised. You shouldn't, if you're not allowed to wear a balaclava walking down the streets or going into a bank or a public building, you shouldn't be allowed wearing a hijab or a burqa. If your face is completely covered, nobody can recognise you. It's the same thing. You can't just call it a bloody religion and cover your face. And if it's putting other people's lives in danger, or, any more than a balaclava, you don't need to do that. If you want to follow your own religion, do so at home. There's no need for it. And if we had any governments, they're going to have to look at doing that now in Sri Lanka, which will cause huge uprisings, and the so-called Easter worshippers, Christians, will pay for that again, because like they did in France, and they have one good thing the French did do, and they put their foot down and they said, no, you can't wear these in public spaces. But hasn't stopped the killing. But I suppose it's a lot easier in a burqa and in a hijab, because you can't recognise. You don't even know whether it's male or female. You don't know what it is. You have no idea. And you can't see anything. It's not like you're going to be able to see a strap full of diamonds strapped to a body or anything, because there's a big huge sheet over them. You can't see anything. So it's crazy. But as I said, the Islamic supporters are out celebrating the suicidal bombings. So majority, I think it was 8 suicide bombers that had gone into churches, mainly Catholic churches, and had blown themselves up. So it looks like there was a lot of women involved in that. So I wonder how many of the 8 were actually women, maybe all of them. So they say it's a large number of women involved. So what they mean about that, I'm not sure whether they're all the suicide bombers or plotting it and putting it together. It's crazy, but there's 500 still in hospital injured, so that 321 could easily rise to, God knows what, we could be up to 500. Maybe 400 by the morning. It's hard to know. Anyway, thank you for listening on the gruesome Tuesday. And you know what? When people start talking about Easter worshippers or Easter worshippers or Asian groups, please correct them. Stop this crazy false language. There's no such thing as Easter worshippers. They're Christians. They don't worship Easter. They worship Jesus Christ. And it's almost like they're denouncing Jesus Christ by this Easter worshipper, or denying that that's their faith. And as for Asians, it's not fair on true Asians that the whole continent is called after them. It's nothing to do with the Buddhists, the Hindus, the Christians, the atheists, or, the different Jew sects and the different Christians. It has nothing to do with them in Asia. And it has nothing to do with the majority of Asians. It's one area that happens to cover a part of, which is Pakistan. But most of these so-called Asians that I've explained are from the Far East, the Middle East and Pakistan. They're all over, and India. But it's no other religion. So let's call them for what they are. They're Muslims, and that is fair. By calling them Asians, that is actually racist. Because you're blaming a whole continent that has nothing to do with any other religion or any of the other groups in it. The majority of Asians are Chinese, Japanese, nothing to do with them. There's no Chinese or Japanese Muslim grooming gangs or grooming gangs where they're torturing and raping children in the United Kingdom. No, they are Muslims, and they're not all from Pakistan. They're from different areas of Islamic countries. So let's start correcting people and stop the bullshit of the language that's going around with the far left destroying. And, you know, just total disrespect for Christians. Easter worshipping, it really is disgrace. Anyway, thank you for listening on the Bon Marie Show on itv.ie and Irish News Radio. Tomorrow we'll have the wonderful Elvis and his thoughts on this. I'm sure he's heartbroken as a Christian from an Islamic country who escaped from the persecution of being a Christian in a Muslim country. He's now finding he's been persecuted in United Kingdom, which is was, I suppose, a Christian country, secular or Christian. No, but he's now following the same persecution that he left for. So we'll have a chat, and I'm sure he'll be heartbroken about the Sri Lanka killings of 321. Again, thank you very much for listening on the Bon Marie Show.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.